Alexa, search for mutt nude.
Sorry, something went
Thank
wrong.
God!
Something was very wrong
Nothing
there.
went wrong. Everything went correct.
Yes.
Hey Joe, how you holding up?
I'm doing all right.
Okay, well here, let me get this one for you. Hello and welcome. My name is Ken.
Hello, Ken.
Ken tried to usurp, and it failed.
You guys don't want to introduce yourself? The problem is, Dan, you are the one who didn't go along with it next.
I don't go after... Wait, do I? No, I don't. I'm after Andy.
Oh, Andrew. Come on.
I'm in.
I even talked about with this about you.
It was days ago.
Okay, hold on. Let's start all over again, and Ken, start with the first thing you said.
With the first thing I said?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Hey Joe.
Yeah.
How you holding up?
Oh, God! Oh, God!
Whoa. That's about right. Let me take this one for you. Hello and welcome. My name is Ken.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Dan.
I'm Joe.
All right, and welcome to the Rewinders
It feels
podcast,
so weird. Everything's out of order.
where we rewind and reboot movies. We're rewinding quite a bit shorter this time, only 2008, and we're reviewing our first reboot. Joe, what are your first thoughts about this movie since it's your first time?
I just finished watching it 4 minutes ago. It's not terrible, but it's not good.
I'm gonna confess, is better than I remember it being, but
I second that, actually.
there are still
Minor.
quite a few things wrong.
Yeah, for me, there's something that I'll get into later that is completely wrong and messes the whole movie up, but I agree.
Well, let's take the idea. This movie's from 2008. We weren't young kids back. Well, some of you probably.
I was
But anyway.
fresh-faced 20-something.
I had year after.
God damn it! Don't make me do math.
I was just starting college.
So coming into this movie, usually it's like, hey, so how did you feel watching this movie as a kid? How did you feel coming into this film after the absence of having Indiana Jones from 89 to 2008?
Friggin' jacked.
I was so excited for this movie.
I was gobbling down indie whiplash whoppers like crazy, and we were playing Indiana Jones Monopoly right up to the point where we all left for the theater with a big group of folks. I was excited.
I went with the girl that I had been dating at the time to go see it.
And this ended it?
I was gonna...
No?
Oh, okay, good. I would have apologized to you then.
I too went on a date to this movie with the girl Dan was dating
What?
at the time.
Hang on a
Actually,
second.
no, my ex-wife.
You're making a joke, but that's... Now I'm sad.
Okay. Yeah, no, I went in with, hey, it's Indy, hooray, but also, I don't really care because Indiana Jones is already so wonderful in my head that I didn't really need it, and I still had the memories of the prequels in my head, and, I was terrified a little bit to go into this movie.
I think the only apprehension I had going into this from watching the trailer and being so excited about it was I kept on saying to everybody, I just really hope there's not aliens. I really hope Indy doesn't have to go up against some aliens. Oh, God.
I was more concerned about Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, it left a distaste in my mouth right off the bat, but I wasn't going to let it ruin things.
That was the biggest thing, was they kept on saying, oh, they're handing the hat off to Shia. They're going to make Shia the next
I remember
Indiana
hearing,
Jones. And I was,
hearing that.
There's so many rumors
very
about that.
upset about that one.
Yep.
But, what about you, Joe? How were you feeling going into this movie a couple of days ago?
Oh, a couple days ago?
I guess when it first came out, you didn't
Yeah.
go see it. I'm sure there's a reason.
Yeah, so it ties into the trailer, which we watched a generic movie trailer, but I remember a different trailer that kept playing, and that was, haha, look at Indiana Jones, he's old now. Here's old man joke number 1. Ha ha ha! Here's old man joke number 2. Ha ha! That's why I started veering away and caring less and less about it, because I was like, yeah, we get it. And then that combined with the rumor mill of Shia LaBeouf taking over, which was like, yeah, well, Harrison Ford can't do this forever, so why not? Yeah.
Now that you're talking about that one, I think I remember that trailer, but the trailer we watched for this was the one that I remember, unless you're combining two trailers, because I definitely remember seeing the rocket launcher in the trailer and being like, well, that escalated.
Yeah, this is the one I saw, and having watched the movie again, it pisses me off because they clearly kept Marion as a secret. Marion was a secret for the whole movie until, poof, here she is at the end almost. And the trailer gives it away right away. So walking into the movie, oh, Miriam's back. That's cool. So I feel like that little bit undermined the movie in a sense.
I didn't have any idea who Miriam was because I had completely forgotten. So her reintroduction into the cast was lost to me when I saw it the first time. It has a hell of a lot more punch after watching the entirety of the movie series of Indiana Jones. What are we, 2 months in now?
Yeah.
So that's a positive for me, I guess.
I gotta say, as a positive, I don't know if we want to jump the gun here, but I really think that they redeemed her character in this movie. The first movie, I was saying she's very much bold, go get 'em, punches Indy in the face, but then once she gets into the streets, she gets kidnapped and doesn't really know how to defend herself. But in this movie, she is much more go get 'em, much more planning, much more able to act on her own continuously.
Really?
Mind you, they did introduce her with her being kidnapped. However,
yeah,
you show up with enough people with guns, it's gonna be kind of easy to kidnap somebody. But once they get free...
Oh, I mean, even Indy got kidnapped.
Yeah.
And she joked about that. So she's sassy in this movie, but all she does is drive cars and hug Indiana Jones.
I was just going to say that, Joe.
That's all she does.
Yeah.
That's fair. Does she hit the faces with the rocks?
Oh, maybe. Yeah. We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we do. We get ahead of ourselves.
So, Joe, you really had no idea walking into this from the trailer you watched and then just sitting down to watch this. I don't want to jump into negativity right away, but...
No. Andy,
I don't know which way to
You
go
can.
with this.
Taking
Let's
my
just go
position.
right
I'll
into
be able to balance it out.
Put shit all over.
No,
this
I've
movie.
got some good things to say. I mean, if we
All
jumped
over
into
this movie.
If we jumped into the good things to say section, I've got a few things. But I don't know,
Okay.
I'm really interested in your mindset going into this, Joe, because having everybody trash talk it around you and just not having seen it and steering away on your own accord. I guess, what was it like sitting down to actually start this thing off?
Expectations were rock bottom. And I
We're
wasn't
giving it glowing reviews every
I know.
other cast prior to this. How could you have low expectations?
So, I mean, it gave me what I had already seen in trailers or previews, and then the other stuff was okay. I mean, nothing really jumped out and made me want to punch anything for how terrible it was.
Except for maybe a Russian. A Russian Nazi.
No Nazis.
No, there were
They couldn't
no
do
Nazis.
Interchangeable. You just have to use the people you hate.
Yeah, well, basically. I didn't have any real big issue going in, and I'll say I started off rock bottom. It got lifted up a little bit, and it kind of hovered in the same area, dipped a few times, but it never got, never better than a C- at any point.
Okay.
Now we're all just trying to think of the time that it might have gotten above a C-.
I had one good laugh in the movie.
Okay.
That's it. The rest of them, not so much.
Yeah, and I'm struggling so hard not to talk about problems before we get into the good stuff.
I think you go into this movie expecting a certain level of something, and the movie never actually gives you what you're looking for, and you're just along for the ride to the end.
Yes. And the whole time you're just thinking, well, it's going to get to that point that I'm waiting for pretty soon, and then the movie's done.
After 2 hours.
Yes.
It was a long
It was
movie.
a very
Yeah.
long movie. I paused it last night because it was almost to the jungle scene with the duck boats and everything. I was like, oh man, there's only got to be like 20 minutes left. Oh god, there's 45. I got really sad.
Okay.
All right, so good things before we start just overwhelmingly piling crap, I guess.
Does anyone want to pitch?
Oh, let's write the pitch.
I did promise I'd do a pitch. I didn't write something, but I have ideas.
We all know how the first 3 went, and then it went into hibernation, and now you're going to pitch doing another one.
Yes. Gentlemen,
Yes. Yes.
the movie industries, we're struggling. We, all we got these days are reboots.
We got
We
we
need-
got Transformers.
So technically, it's still reboots.
Nah.
What if we brought back one of the most beloved heroes of all times, Indiana Jones?
Oh man, I loved Indiana Jones when I was growing up. Let's do that!
Same.
Didn't they finish his story though?
I mean, have you read any of the
He
books?
didn't die, did he?
But they rode off into the sunset. I'm pretty sure they finished that, didn't they?
I mean, yeah, but he had to go somewhere.
We could do a
Back to his
prequel.
teaching
No,
job.
prequel.
no.
Prequel
No,
sounds
we,
great.
we got the Transformers kid. We could make him Indy's, like protege. Yeah.
Protege. Okay. Yeah. Also, Harrison Ford's getting a little up there. We still need to have Indiana Jones be in this movie.
So we have Indiana Jones be in this movie. We'll just make fun of the fact that he's really freaking old.
We can bring back other things in this movie, like Marion, and some music that we liked. And we can remember at the end of that Raiders how we had the rocket launcher. Maybe this time we can actually have them shoot the rocket launcher. We can have explosions because now we got the digital effects. We can do this real big. But we still got to have a whole lot of different dungeon stuff too.
I'm almost on board. I'm almost on board. Nazis? Are Nazis going to be back?
No, we don't want to touch the Nazi
We're kind of
thing.
past the Nazi
let's-
threat.
But Indy fights Nazis. What?
I mean, what?
Look at
just
these
pick-
days.
we'll
We
just
have
pick-
no Nazis
we'll
left
pick
these
a point
days.
in time where we could have some other evil company be Indy's bad guys. Yeah. So Indy's like 70 years old. Oh, that kind of put
It's
us.
like 40 years after the last time he saw Nazis.
So
he's searching
Cold
for
War.
Metamucil?
Cold-
50s?
We could do Russians.
Cold
We'll do
War.
Russians. That'll be fine. We'll just slap some Russian propaganda on there. It'll be great.
I'm not fully against this.
Okay. Let me get you fully against this.
The Russians are psychic.
God damn it. That's where I was going to go, but I didn't want to start this yet. We're going to start the supernatural shit early. Like, second scene. Oh,
Because
oh, man.
they've only dabbled in that kind of stuff with opening boxes and touching
Magic rocks.
rocks and with the cups, magic cups,
Like, even the magic rocks. All right, I think...
magic
I think we might be-
crocs.
Magic rocks.
Indy on the quest for the most comfortable shoes.
Don't be
know.
crazy. There's no such thing.
Especially not those.
I think we've reached the
Yep.
end of a pitch.
Yep.
Okay, so...
Well, let's just head on in full bore. What do you like? And I'm going to go straight to Andy. Andy, what do you like?
I've got a few quotes I really enjoyed that I remembered right away.
I got a bad feeling about this. Wrong series.
Yeah, no.
Sorry.
No.
Well, when there's aliens involved, why not?
All right, so I've got a few here. One is a quote that actually stuck with me from seeing this movie back in 2008, and I do use it occasionally. I really do enjoy the quote of, "We seem to have reached the age where life stops giving us things and starts taking things away." I like that quote. It's simple, but it's
It
effective.
hits more now than it does when I first saw
Oh,
this
for
movie.
Yes, it does. I was younger, and the world was my tomato back then, but not so much anymore.
Now it's a gourd.
Now it's just a big rotting gourd. The seeds are starting to slide down, and
The life gives you a rotten gourd. collect those seeds and make pumpkin seeds.
Nope. I liked that the map is back again. So that officially
It's
makes
mandatory.
that officially makes Temple the only movie that didn't have the map,
Yep.
which
Makes
is really
Temple
a bummer.
the worst movie out of the series.
I don't
Temple
know.
did a
I would almost say this movie's slightly below Temple, if not
I
on
would
par. They're the weakest two entries, hands
Totally
down.
disagree. I'd put this above Temple.
They're the worst
above
entries.
Temple. Higher than
Oof.
Temple.
You're a bad man. Bad
Temple's
man.
the worst.
Temple for me is above this.
I would say Temple's slightly above this, yeah. I did also like... Oh my god, I'm really reaching here. This was kind of a 50-50. I got a chuckle out of this because we had literally just talked about this in the last movie review. Indy finally lost his job. So
That had me chuckling inside, but it had nothing to do with the movie. It was all about
Likewise.
us talking about it.
likewise, it was literally just about us because we just brought that up, and then here he is gloriously being fired. So-
He was not fired. He was asked to take an indefinite leave. Fully paid!
Yup.
Fully
Yeah.
I
paid!
don't care about your money.
So honestly, for me, those are the highlights I had. Other than that, I do like I honestly do like the callback to Brody because his absence was sorely missed. It was funny having the portrait hanging in the hallway. It was fun. It's funny having the chase scene end with his head breaking off a statue and smashing through a window. Like, that was worth a good chuckle. But yeah, I mean, aesthetically, I like the movie the way it looks. I'll say that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I got.
Nope. We lost Joe.
No, we lost
We
Joe.
lost the Joe.
Where did you go, Joe? Do we need to look for you in some sort of weird dungeon?
I gotta
Is
remember
it
what I was
dungeon?
going to say before Joe left.
Cotton Eye Joe.
Oh no. We miss you. Maybe somebody
I
should
will.
type to Joe.
Joe just slipped into the
Miss-
space between space.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
We can't
That
talk
was-
about anything in the movie because it's just going to make it harder for Joe to edit this whole thing.
You know what, Dan?
Robo's
typing.
typing.
You're a movie.
I'm struggling. I know when I was watching this movie, I had seen things that I liked and I didn't mind and were interesting to watch, but I am struggling coming up with
I
ideas
have
right
several
now.
notes. I have
I
a
know.
bunch
I
of
was
different
looking through my
things.
notes being like,
One of them I was just about to hit on before Joe lost the connection to Discord. Or at least the vocal Discord.
okay, I did actually write down one thing that I said I loved, and that was the thing I was looking for.
Yay, Joe's back now, yay.
Joe's home.
Yay.
Oh.
We thought you slipped.
Well, we finished the podcast.
We thought you slipped into the space in between space.
I did.
Oh.
Cold open.
So I'm done with my my things I liked.
I had a thing.
I really liked the aesthetic and the feel and the franticness and the confusion of the Nuketown scene.
Yes,
Careful,
aesthetically, I love the Newtown scene.
That term, that's copywritten.
Ugh.
By Blizzard?
Infinite. I think it's
Activision.
Infinity
Don't be a
Ward?
narc, Dan.
Activision.
Activision?
One of those.
Black Ops?
Narc.
I don't want us to get shut down.
And they would because they hate anything but profit.
Yes.
And we would make them absolutely none.
See, so I fully double back on what
They'd
you.
have to find us first.
I'm going to double up on what you said, Ken. I love that scene. I love the frantic confusion of it. I just hate what it
No.
comes to.
Don't get me wrong. I don't like what happened before,
Or after.
and I don't like what happened afterwards.
But I love him frantically stumbling around, realizing, oh shit, what's going on? Like, that was, yes, that was very well done.
So, like, let's talk about the outline of this movie. It starts off, unlike any other Indiana Jones movie, without Indiana Jones. It starts off
Yep.
with a car race.
For quite a long time.
How
too.
the hell does a Studebaker stay up with a hot rod?
I mean,
Because,
I think the kids were just toying with them. Otherwise, it's a military vehicle, so it's souped up.
yeah,
Either way,
That thing
that
was a
Studebaker's
rushing
so
around.
fucking heavy. It was Russian.
it was rushing around, Dan.
That car was so
Nice.
fast it was
Are you
Russian.
proud of that one?
Well played. I'm very happy with that
Oh, I
one.
feel a little sad now.
It wasn't even my joke.
So yeah, that's a very long opening scene to not have Indy, but technically have Indy.
So, whatever. didn't really care for it. It's a weird thing, but it gets us to a base where they introduce Indiana Jones, and he's surly and he's proud, and
He's in the
Indiana
same
Jones.
problems that he's always managed to get himself into.
Yes.
And I like it.
That is good, yes.
Barring the psychic thing, that was a cool scene.
Yes.
Even going into the warehouse, having some weird supernatural shit with weird magnetism,
Selective
still
magnetism.
kind of cool.
Yes, selective. I've got notes on that.
Selective magnetism, it's always selective only for when they want to have something appear semi-artsy. And then into a stupid fight chase, because all the fights and chases in this are way too drawn out.
It's also making point that Indiana Jones is unbelievably lucky. Like, as a D&D character, he has maxed out luck.
Oh, yeah. So what I'm trying to get at is this movie is a couple of good moments of Indiana Jones being Indiana Jones, surrounded by a whole bunch of just mediocrity shoved in there to fit pad runtime.
Yes.
I'd agree.
I gotta ask you guys, this isn't a negative thing, but did you guys notice the opening scene? Well, not the opening scene, but once you are reintroduced to Indy in Area 51 warehouse, and through that whole scene, I feel like his voice was so gone.
Yes.
I feel like it was so hard to understand him. He sounded like a frail old man. But I feel like at some point, maybe past all of that, maybe past all the crap, and then to the point where he was having his first discussion with the agents after being scrubbed down, for the rest of his movie, his voice was pretty okay again, and it sounded like Harrison Ford, all nice and gruff again. But it felt like that opening scene. I didn't know if you guys caught that or not, because that really bothered the shit out of me.
So it's ADR gone too perfect. That's what happened there. His voice is crystal clear. Even when he just makes little grumbles or groans or
Yeah.
it's perfect. Everything is perfectly peaked. Everything is perfectly heard. And that's what makes it so, what's going on? Why is his voice so weird?
Gotcha,
It's
because
too perfect.
that was jarring as hell for me. It was like listening to an old man kind of like, but crystal clear. It was just like, what the
So
hell?
what you're saying is the ADR is the matte paintings of this movie.
Yes.
I never really had a problem with it outside of that moment.
Yeah, that scene just drove me nuts.
Can we call out the fact that when they are standing outside of the warehouse, they are definitely not outside of a warehouse? And
There's a lot of
it's
sets.
very,
Dan.
but it
There's
is
a lot of things.
glaringly obvious that they are on a set.
All right, quick. Anybody else?
I have a
anything
bunch of good
positive?
stuff. If you guys keep talking,
You just said something
because I'm adding to the
negative.
conversation
wasn't-
we're currently having.
No! I prefaced mine with this isn't a negative comment, it's just an interesting thing that I noticed. Did you guys notice it too?
And then we all piled on. It's fine.
All right, Dan. Dan, what do you have? What do you have
So,
that's good? I'm actually interested.
During the chase scene on the motorcycle, there is a callback to Sean Connery's character in Last Crusade. That is also very similar because it is also after a motorcycle chase scene. Mud, played by one Shia LaBeouf.
Mutt.
You mean
Mutt?
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 Mutt. Mutt.
Okay.
Mutt.
Tuh.
Like a pup.
Because he's a
Yes.
pup. He's a pup in this rough and tumble world.
Mutt gets this like excited, like, yeah, I just hurt a bunch of people really badly. And Indy looks at him, and they have there's an exchange between Indy and Mutt that Indy and his dad had after escaping the Nazis in the castle.
Yes. After you're talking about the scene where Indy tosses the. Are you talking about the scene where Indy tosses the flagpole into the motorcycle, laughs, looks back at his dad,
And his dad
dad's
is
lying in his
like,
pocket
no,
watch?
his dad like gives him
All
this
pissed
like,
off.
you just like killed a man, like.
Yeah, like he's not
Yeah.
impressed. Yeah.
And Mutt does the same thing, and Indy looks at him like it is. I'm assuming that was very planned, but it was the first like, hey, that's something that ties into one of the older movies, and I thought was kind of neat.
Yeah, I remember that part. And now you say it. Yeah, it's kind of they did attempt the father-son thing in that they did so well in the previous movie, while trying still not to, because at that point I don't think that Indiana had known that he was his child at that point. So maybe that's why it was to less effect, because there wasn't the known relationship at that point.
No,
Or
there
was
was
it?
no. It was
This
not
is
in the jungle.
jungle.
It was right at the university.
Mutt kills somebody in the university?
That
He does
severely injures. He
run
rushes,
people
yeah.
over in the library.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's before the get out of the library cringe scene. Like there's a lot.
I like
There's
that
a
that's a
lot
cringe
of
scene.
cringe in this movie. There's also a hell of a lot of lens
There's a
flares.
shitload of cringe. Yes, I have that as a note. Damn it! Stop getting into the bad stuff, Dan. Did you have more, Dan? Or was that the only
just
good
one.
thing you
I don't
had?
like. I don't know. I feel like I don't have enough to really continue a full-on conversation if you guys don't have anything else you want to talk about.
I had one more that was a good thing that turned into a bad thing. So it's kind of a weird one for me. I really, really, really loved Indy's advice to Mutt about his future, and then they doubled back on it, and shit all over it in the last
Is
half
that
of the film.
the
Advice
yes.
about you didn't finish school? Well, I mean, if he gives them that whole advice about it's not a bad thing if you do what you love. And I was like, wow, that's actually really cool advice coming from Indy to him. I mean, that's surprising. And then it doubles back to the second he learns about him being his kid. It's just like, you didn't let him finish school? And that's like, well, come on.
It's one of those cringe things
make
that I
him
was
finish
talking to you
school.
about just a second ago.
I mark that as being the funniest line in the movie.
Yeah?
That's as best as the humor got.
Yeah, I would agree.
I would agree, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately.
The problem with this movie is like it's an Indiana Jones movie. It had a ton of expectation that it needed to live up to,
Especially after Last Crusade.
but it doesn't know what it wants to be as a movie.
I think, okay, so I feel like we're just immediately crossing the threshold here. There's no turning back. This movie, to me, the biggest sin that it commits, hands down, is the fact that Last Crusade wrapped up everything, and it wrapped up everything with a nice, neat bow. Indy found his own metaphorical holy grail in his relationship with his father, tied up everything that he had sought to do. It was done. There, to me, after watching this movie again, was literally no reason that progressed anything further than it already was to dust the Indy name back off and bring him back out of retirement for one more ride.
Oh, sure there is.
This movie didn't do shit.
There is a
because even the point.
ton of green paper.
Oh yeah, money, but
Which has its own metaphor in there with Mac.
yes,
Is that his name?
Yes, Mac.
He's the metaphor of the reason for doing the movie. To grub down on one more chance at gold.
It's just depressing.
And I will grab onto it until I get sucked into the interdimensional void.
Which somebody
That's-
10 feet away from me, not even
Wow.
10 feet, 5 feet away from me doesn't even get affected by.
Luck.
Yeah. So should we give a rundown here? Because I feel like we're just gonna have a lot to unload. I mean, I'll admit right off the bat, when I started watching this movie, I started watching it. I split it between 2 days, and I shit you not. When I started taking notes, this is how my first day of notes went. Fucking gophers, fucking magnets, fucking chair, fucking nuke, fucking fridge, fucking gophers, fucking war record, fucking medals, and then I just had to stop. I got pretty angry pretty quick with this.
I'd much rather see Indiana Jones in World War II, like they allude to.
Yes, but that's a huge question I had concerning. Okay, so we get to that scene where they're talking about him being this highly decorated hero, and it's just like, when the hell did he have time to do that? I mean, Indiana Jones'
When
Last
he wasn't
Crusade.
teaching classes,
I mean, sure, I guess.
he still had another 20, 30 years, possibly 40 years of adventures in between. They didn't want him to be some lazy-ass person in between teaching schools. They needed him to be this adventuring person so they could have somebody come in and fill all those years in the future. No? Okay.
Maybe. I'm doing a research quick.
Okay.
You don't just get the rank of colonel handed to you, so...
That's fair. And trying to remember between... So when does the first movie take place?
Good question.
Is that Nazis World War II?
Yeah, it was Nazis
Yeah,
World War
'cause
II,
Hitler-
and then same thing, yeah. So that's what I was actually looking up for, at least the Last
Was-
Crusade. So yes, this... Okay, so I can kind of see it, maybe. I will give them the benefit of the doubt in this fact, but it still doesn't feel quite right. The Last Crusade takes place in 1938. And
Oh, wow, so early war.
yes, so that's
Okay.
the beginning of World War II, essentially, because World War II started right in around 1939, and it lasted to 45, so it is feasible that, yes, he did go on after the Last Crusade to sign up and go start kicking ass across the sea, but it doesn't seem
Or
like he
drafted?
would have.
He could have got drafted.
Easily got
Drafted's the only thing I guess that makes sense, yeah. I guess drafting's the only thing that makes sense in this situation, but
And he's educated, so he could be an officer pretty quickly. And
I-
as an officer, I think he would move up the ranks pretty quickly.
I just hated it because it just felt
I don't know about
shoehorned
that
in.
quickly,
It's
but-
just like, oh, all of a sudden Indy's not just a professor who's a great archaeologist, now he's also a war hero.
Yeah.
Now he's got all this cool military training. Ha ha. I don't
Yeah.
know. That's just personal for me. It's like, what the hell? It's like now he's this decorated war hero all of a sudden, too. Like, how much cooler could Indy get?
He doesn't want to be a decorated war hero, though. Like, you can tell
No,
about...
he doesn't.
Like, he doesn't want them to be talking about any of the stuff that he did.
Yeah.
So then this movie would have been in the 50s sometime, given the
I thought they said
Jocks versus
57.
Something like
Greasers and
that.
stuff.
57, yeah. I think I
57?
remember seeing that.
something along those lines.
Okay, so that's right around 19 years then.
Okay, I'm actually going to erase Gophers off my list of negativity because I think we all understand that the CGI Gophers were just shit. So I'm just
Yeah.
going
I disagree. I thought they were cute.
They're
You're a
just,
monster.
They're just the precursor to the porg.
But George Lucas has nothing to do with porgs.
No, but it's
But he has
the
everything
same
to do with
adding
weird
the
animals
porg
to his
were-
movies.
Yes.
These
were,
are
that's
the
whole thing.
these are the
no,
Ewoks.
They weren't Ewoks. The porgs were because the island that they filmed those scenes on were covered in puffins, so they CGI'd the puffins out with
Right.
creatures.
No, these are the dewbacks.
Oh, God.
No, these are the sand people.
No, I see where Ken's going.
Sand
they are the dewbacks. The special edition dewbacks.
They're just added in to add spaces.
Mhm. Just folks,
like,
stormtroopers riding around on random ass things.
This is Key Woback and the Trumpeteers Cantina Whistle Stop Band.
Yeah.
We might be getting a little bit too nerdy here.
All right, Joe. Joe, I want your take on this because you are going to be our fun little guinea pig in this episode.
All right.
That
What can I
opening
do for you?
scene.
Yes.
Compared to the other three Indiana Jones movies that we just got done watching and the way that they set up the film, the way that they set up the scene, I want to know how you felt on your little roller coaster of emotions going from opening of the cars traveling down the Nevada highway stretch to Indy rolling out of a goddamn lead-lined fridge after a nuclear blast. I need to know everything that happened in between that.
So I wasn't feeling Indiana Jones in the opening with the cars. I was feeling, oh, hey, George Lucas is reminding us that he did American Graffiti back
Yup.
in the day.
I'm so glad you just said that. I'm so glad you said that. Yes.
And then I roll. And then that's quickly replaced with all the scenes in the desert, and you say to yourself, how many damn lights did they put up to light everyone's face so brightly? Jesus, there's so many lights out there, and everything has this veneer of clay and bright light, because I ended up finding out through watching the movie and deciding that this is the factor. That look that they give the film is not a stylistic choice. They didn't do that to make it look neat, interesting, or have a point. They did it to hide bad CGI and to hide bad physical sets.
I was going to bring that up later on because in the jungle chase scene, it is so damn blurry and
Yeah.
so washed out bright for such a new
Nope.
movie. And even
They
just
did it on purpose.
It's just
to
insane.
hide bad.
It's
This
insane
is the
how
opposite of making everything so dark you can't see it.
Yes. I mean, Jurassic Park CGI, there's bits that still don't hold up, but there's stuff that still looks better than today. And this movie was just made 12 years ago, and it's already starting to look bad. That's unreal to me. But yeah, definitely. I'm glad you brought that up, too, because I noticed that it seemed like everything was so freaking washed out in the opening. I thought I was going crazy, and I thought my TV was a little off.
No, they're hiding things. And then, like you said, with Harrison Ford's voice, pulled me out of the movie. And the fact that his clothes are all 3 sizes too big for him. And I'm like,
yes.
was he in his
That was
pajamas? What's going on?
Yeah, that distracted me the entire movie, seeing him in giant baggy clothes for some reason. It's like, oh, he's old, so we gotta make him look like a grandpa. Give him baggy 2 sizes up, 3 sizes up, and have him go to town.
He's shrunk since the last time you saw him, apparently.
I guess, yeah.
So then we get inside everything outside the warehouse is fine. It's whatever. It's setting up bad guys. Here's Indy again, and he knows what stuff is up.
I will say I did laugh at the put your hands down, you're embarrassing me.
Yeah, that's pretty classic.
Yeah, that was good.
That was good to me.
But then when it turns into tossing black powder into the sky and watching it fly down the hallway, again, I'm pulled out of the movie because the physics of that would mean that there's a really strong magnet somewhere and nothing that's metal is being affected by it except what he's throwing in the air.
Yes.
Which...
Yeah.
I was frustrated with that when I was talking to Ken, because I said it's frustrating when they find the sarcophagus because it doesn't have any of that gunpowder on it in any way, shape, or form. It just has a couple of like buckshot balls from the shotgun shell.
And then on top of it, the thing that they open up, the metal gets attracted to the outer box instead of the skull like it's supposed to be doing. And it's like, why would we care if this box that is provided by the military is magnetic? I mean, they kind of come back later and explain it, saying, oh, that's how we preserve this really old dude. But then the skull also
this really
does
old
it.
dude was the Roswell crash alien, and ergo why they didn't need that skull.
Yeah, I don't know. It pulled me out, and then the action started because it does, and it was okay until the CG enhancements to the action started happening, and then again, it's just like, it's unnecessary. Why are we doing this? None of the other movies needed this. Why?
Yeah.
Other than George Lucas loves his green screens.
Yep. I think I was fine even with the whipping and everything else because that's classic Indy. But the second he started running on those beams, like full speed sprinting on the beams, that kind of pulled me out of it for some reason. I don't know why that bothered me so much, but it did.
Yeah, Nuketown was cool. I liked how it got introduced because I didn't even know what was going on until all of a sudden it started happening. I'm like, oh, it's a fun transition. But
would you think that a professor would understand what's going on then? At that point, though?
Yes. I never took, for instance, that he didn't know what was going on. It was at first he was like, oh, okay, mannequins.
He comes out, he's like, oh,
but everything's mannequins.
And then he sees mannequins in like weird TV shows. Like,
yeah.
You would think that there would be a thing in the back of his head being like, oh, fuck, this is a... maybe I'm jumping a little bit into it, but I feel like he should have known that where he was, given he'd probably have seen the films in college, in his college somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like this would have been the first time that they did anything like that, so there'd be a good understanding of what's going on, so the little bit of confusion, whatever. You know,
a little bit of confusion's understandable. Looks like all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, mannequins, that's weird.
But then at 21 minutes into the movie, they nuke the fridge.
They nuke the fridge.
There is a
yes.
lot of things for that for Indy to have even possibly escaped that. Things would have to have been perfect for, which falls into the Indy's unbelievably lucky.
Which, let's not also, ignore the fact that there is a human being inside of a refrigerator tumbling through the air and across the ground for what looks to be quite some distance. That door would open up and he'd be
outruns a car.
Yeah.
It's definitely not padded inside there.
Nope, Indy would be stumbling out with broken bones and barely alive if he even did live.
Yeah, especially since they want to paint him as this old man. At least in...
That's what's so contradictory.
In the previews. It's like... This would definitely murder a young a child who can fall off a friggin' cliff and be fine.
Yes, but they just keep shoving it down our throats that Indy's apparently made of rubber.
Flubber.
Apparently.
I don't know. Seeing the angle that George Lucas took with this movie, I'm going to estimate that he's going to be setting up that Indiana Jones is actually a demigod from ancient Greece, and he forgot his history, and he made some pact that he's going to age at a certain point and die, and he'll have one last go on Mount Olympus to save the world, and then he'll hand his hat off to Junior, and say,
Junior.
now it's on you. Because he'll suddenly have a bad Scottish accent again.
Yes.
You son of a bitch, I'm in.
I'm sold. I'm completely sold.
And if you're going to nuke the fridge, you might as well nuke it far enough away from the
I
blast
like
to
that term
not
better
have
than
them
jumping the
vaporized.
shark.
Right. I do too. It's like it's a much needed modernization of that term, and I'm angry this scene exists, but I'm glad that it exists for that purpose.
I gotta say, artistically, having that mushroom cloud behind him and having him
He
stand
would
on the
be
cliff looking
so
at it.
Oh, yeah, it looked cool.
dead.
It was pretty. The explosion
So
looked really
dead.
cool. Just destroying everything. But
There's at least 5 points in this film that I have notes that say dead. They would literally be dead. I have that 5 times in my notepad.
If he's not dead, he would have severe burning.
Or he just starts coughing throughout the rest of the film.
Yeah. Because I visited with a gentleman at the VA hospital in Milwaukee who did one of those similar experiments where you put the goggles on and you turn away from the explosion. And the gentleman turned to the side and kind of fried part of his face. And yeah, so I mean, you can survive that, but Indiana Jones was looking right at it without special goggles.
Yeah.
But it was also post-explosion, so...
I think that's my major... I gotta get this out. I feel like it's my major gripe with the film overall, and I'm segueing off of what you guys have been saying. This film, compared to the other films, takes suspension of disbelief and wildly inflates that past anybody having reasonable expectations.
Correct.
And honestly, that's my biggest qualm with this entire movie
Exactly.
as well. Is it's just... The other ones, you get to the end, all of a sudden there's a supernatural thing... and then it's over and you're like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of cool. But this movie just keeps on piling it on.
Yes, and it's a mixture of things. It's a mixture of this need for movies nowadays to be bigger and better than the previous iteration. It's the addition of CGI being abundantly cheap and easy to produce to the point where it's being wielded completely irresponsibly. Indiana Jones... The first 3 movies were mastercrafts in practical special effects. They did what they could based off of what they were able to do and didn't try to go above and beyond that. The action scenes were so damn good for Indiana Jones, and it's what you came to expect from an Indiana Jones movie because they were just incredible. It's real trucks, real horses, real fighting, real people being dragged behind cars and crap. I mean, that's Indy. This movie takes all that and shoves all of that effort and all of that gritty realism out the window just to replace it with the quickest and easiest way possible to make something look spectacular. And it just makes everything in the film, to me, feel cartoony in a way. The punches feel cartoony. The effects feel cartoony. Everything that happens to Indy feels like a damn cartoon.
Punch was in there. The Wilhelm scream was in there.
Yeah, wasn't the Wilhelm scream in the damn library scene?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the worst use of the Wilhelm scream I've ever heard in a movie. Oh my god.
Well, I swear the Crystal Skull also made like a squeaky hammer sound when they used it as a bludgeoning weapon.
Oh, yes. And... you hit somebody with a skull, apparently, crystal object, apparently they can just get up and keep moving right away.
Yeah.
It really seems that just like any other action movie that hasn't really thought it out, they just throw the action in there as a thing to take up time and don't think about the consequences. Like, oh, I'm going to punch you, then you punch me, then I'll punch you, and then I'll hit you with a shovel, and then you get back up and run. Like, I don't know if you've been hit in the face with a shovel. It really hurts.
Yeah, you're not just going to get right back up and be okay.
Even if you're wearing a
It
mask.
feels like somebody was literally just going through with a checklist, being like, okay, we got Indy punching somebody punches Indy, check. Like, there's all the standard Indy tropes that need to be in the movie, check.
Yep.
And
then they even had sword fight.
Yeah, they had that sword fight, all right.
And they had the Shing taking the sword out of the scabbard that you so love.
And see, this is the problem. The sword fight, it should have been good. On paper, it sounds fun. And honestly, it looked
Mutt
like a fun
even makes
scene.
a reference to it, because Miriam was yelling at him for not having proper footing.
Exactly. It was a fun scene. But
And he got punched in the nuts.
by multiple pushes.
times.
Many times.
Yes. And
Boo!
see,
The first time I was like, oh, okay, I get it. The 5th time I was like, Get over yourself, movie.
Yes.
Get over yourself.
I feel like had this scene been done in an earlier indie movie with practical effects before the glimmer of CG just being in Steven's eye, I feel like this scene would have been fun, it would have been great, and it would have been one of the all-time great chase scenes in an indie movie. But I feel like because it was so damn sloppy and lazy in this film, and I say lazy not as an insult to whoever worked on the film, because I understand it probably was a lot of work to actually pull this off, but just the way that it looks on film translated now just doesn't look as good as it could. And it detracts from all the enjoyment and all the believability that you had from that scene.
We needed more Dickie Beer.
More Dickie Beer, yes. Where did Dickie Beer go? He let us all down.
Jurassic
No, what was he doing
World?
in... no, Jurassic... That was later.
Right.
Either way, they didn't need drivers because those vehicles weren't really moving.
Stop it, Joe.
What was Dickie Beer doing in 2000?
Yeah, no, I'm legitimately looking at it right now, and Dickie Beer was not in here. So
No, he
I'm,
wasn't.
I'm checking to see Dickie when.
2000
yes,
2008.
Dickie was Last Crusade.
Dickie was doing Pistol Whipped, Hancock, Pineapple Express.
Oh,
Hancock was
yeah.
pretty
Pineapple
decent for
Express.
the action.
So Dickie was not part of the original Indiana Jones Raiders, but he was part of Doom and Last Crusade. And then Dickie just, like Dan said, he just went off to do some random stuff in 2008. He's had a pretty full career every single year that's gone by.
If you look at this dude has been doing a lot of stunts.
Oh, this is a long list, yeah.
Anyone who's in
got
the stunt
the Hollywood
business this
dream.
long. Yeah.
I don't think there was a year that he didn't do something.
No,
from
2016.
Check 2020.
16's the only thing missing.
Oh,
Had to take the year off.
wow.
Just wow, this is nuts. But anyways, 2000
I'm a
as well.
fan.
2000 as well. He missed something in 2000.
Hey, you thought the world was going to end.
I guess, yeah.
Oh, wait, no, that was 99 that he would have done that.
So maybe he
Never mind.
was taking the year off to celebrate that the world didn't end.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, Dan, I know you mentioned this earlier, so you had some grievances about that amazing library joke?
Yeah,
Dan?
it's as an Indiana fan, like that's all he does. He doesn't stay in a library.
But he's encouraging that nerd to go and become an archaeologist. Not a book nerd. Hey, nerd, stop being a nerd. Go out there and dig. Like a real nerd does. Nerd.
Don't bother knowing anything about what you're digging for.
Yeah, just dig.
Just dig.
Don't call that hotline. The gas company will take care of it if you rupture a line. Electric company will take care of it if you accidentally cut an electrical line. Just dig. You son of a bitch, get out there and dig. Nerd.
Diggity dig.
Yeah.
That's how you talk to kids in the 50s.
No.
Explains a lot.
You know how you talk to kids in the 50s, according to Indiana Jones? Dance on your own dime, kid.
Or punch him. Which was actually pretty fun in my... Yeah, I'll add that to the good list. Just encouraging a kid to punch another kid so they can escape.
Yeah.
How big's your scorpion?
The scorpion thing was,
I give it a...
What do you give? You're a teacher? Part-time. What do you give that, Joe?
That gave me a little bit of a chuckle. Just given the fact of what we've been talking about in this podcast.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun to have the series actually
That's
tongue-in-cheek
yeah, pretty
reference
tongue-in-cheek.
itself.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm okay with
Yes,
that.
I think my problem with this film, though, with the joke specifically, is the delivery. If the other indie movies are so tight-knit and they're so just perfectly paced that when a joke hits, it's part of the momentum
So
and
you're,
it doesn't
you're
break up the
seeing
momentum.
the problem that I have with Temple then, because those are poorly.
Yes,
all of
but-
those jokes
but almost
are poorly,
worse.
poorly delivered. Every single one of them.
I would say worse, though, because this one, it feels like everything stops to give a couple seconds to say the joke and then to move on. And the jokes,
I agree.
there's no energy behind them. It's just basically like the other one. Okay, so the best way I can describe it is the other three indie movies, jokes were said as things were happening, and that's why they're funny. This movie, it feels like when the jokes are delivered, it's a take. Like that scene where like you're a teacher? Oh, part-time. I mean, that feels like it's a take. It feels like they maybe did that 2-3 times in a row, just that line, and then moved on to the next scene. The jokes in this movie are flat as hell because they're not actually part of the action, and when they are, I don't know, they kind of land, but more often than not, it just seems like they're actually their own thing.
Yeah, one of the worst is the dry sand pit and using a snake as a rope. I
It
was
so
so done with
drawn.
that.
Or how about Indy's explanation where he's like, quicksand? And then he goes on to the whole explanation of what dry sand actually is. It's like,
I kind of like that, but I hated the snake part.
but
Kind of like that. It's a bit of a detraction from the Indiana Jones we've known, though. Like, he did take a couple of times to be like, well, actually.
yeah, all of a sudden he's
a
it's
few
like
times
crazy
to be like
professor
that
mode.
brainy person. Like,
Yeah.
this is a weird way to go for Indiana Jones. He's usually like,
Well, maybe he
you
slowed
should have
down.
read the book.
It was.
Yeah.
Catch up with
He's
me.
done
exactly,
this so
exactly.
many times before. He was prepared for all of this, and everybody else around him is panicking. So he's trying to like be calm.
Okay.
And start. It's like explaining
However-
this shit. I mean,
In the first movie, in the first scene, Indiana Jones and the dude go into the thing. Dude starts freaking out because he's got spiders on him. He doesn't say, "Don't worry, those spiders won't hurt you." He just looks at him glaringly, wipes it off with his whip, and like jerks him like, "Come on, just get your shit together," type thing. Like, no patience for your not knowing what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause he was
And,
young.
yeah.
He was young
And
then.
in this movie, he's just like, "Oh, let me stop all of the action, all of the things that are going, and explain to you what's actually going on." Versus, and it could very well could be they're trying to play the age thing much
Yeah.
more professionally now.
Maybe, but
It's the reflection of his father's character from Crusade, where everything had to stop and everything had to be intellectual.
checkbox.
So maybe he's
guess.
taking on
Checkbox.
his father's.
Checkbox.
Yeah,
I
it's
guess.
a checkbox.
Are you
Alright.
saying he became his dad?
Yeah.
No, not exactly.
Portions of.
But he was on his way. Yeah,
I mean, he
Portions.
definitely
Interesting. That
has
is
a
an interesting
pining
take.
scene at the very beginning,
pining.
missing his dad.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he stares at his dad for like 2 minutes, and we're like, "Yep, you didn't get Sean Connery for this movie."
so maybe let me present you with this. Maybe Elsa survived her fall, and maybe a little bit of Henry Jones Sr. and Jr. mixed to make a perfect combination of both / Elsa baby. She gave birth, and that's the Indy we see, and the other Indy's actually off having fun adventures, and this is an imposter Indy.
I don't like this. This makes me uncomfortable. This thought process needs to stop immediately.
But it does get to the vibe of this movie that this movie is not of the same
Caliber.
world of Indiana Jones that existed for the first three. This is the fan fiction Indiana Jones world.
Yeah, the one where a child gets in the writing room and is like, "What if there's a part where one of the characters is swinging on vines with monkeys?"
Oh god.
Yeah.
We did get some body horror.
Oh.
That was something that I had noted.
Oh, there's actually quite a bit of body horror in this movie. Like
Little bit.
the entombed Spaniards. That was pretty creepy as hell. And there's a lot of good stuff.
There's some mummies that they defiled.
Yeah.
Right quickly, as Indiana Jones does.
He's well known for it.
There's precedent. He can cut open a mummy. Who cares?
Can toss aside a conquistador and get what's behind him.
Still, hands down, my favorite though is Last Crusade. Just the way he just rips that damn body off the wall to get some rags.
There's the person at the bottom of the stairs in the obelisk, as if the obelisk was opened at one point, and somebody didn't make it all the way down the stairs in enough time and got impaled on the spike.
Yeah, that was
Those
fun.
are the
And then
those are the
somehow they
conquistadors.
were able to reset that. How the hell do you reset that obelisk?
Corn?
Movie magic.
Those people that are, scared of the skull were like, oop, time to put sand back in.
Corn. It wasn't sand. It was too granular. It was corn.
It's their special sand.
That was the
corn?
gold.
No, the gold
No,
was knowledge.
Gold was knowledge. They said that specifically at the end.
I always
That's
thought
why-
it was some
that's
kind.
why
It was
Mac
just
was
some,
so
some
sad.
kind of super eloquent corn silo.
I guess it could also be corn because they did get agriculture out of it.
True.
The movie did surprise me though, because when that the temple opened up, like when they pulled the faces off and stuff like that, and those little bits started pointing up, my brain immediately told me that George Lucas had made a ancient satellite dish and it was going to shoot a laser out, but it didn't. And I was like,
Totally
oh,
could have in this movie.
Yeah, I'm surprised he held
nuked
back.
The fridge.
I gotta say, I do like the mechanisms there in that whole obelisk scheme. However,
Yeah, it
it
was
just
fun.
seems
It's definitely fun.
it just seemed a bit far-fetched because all I could think of was like, how do you reset this thing? Is all I could think of during that scene. Apart from the fact that it was like it was actually kind of cool how it all unfolded and opened up into the.
Yeah,
In
Next
the end, all it had to
dungeon
do
crawl.
was look cool.
exactly.
Do I agree with that? No. But the reality is, all it had to do is look cool.
This is the reality.
So, how about that Oxley?
Yeah.
Do you feel like it was a waste of John Hurt's talents? I kind of do.
It was just an
don't
elongated
know,
cameo.
It was. That's what it felt like. Yeah.
There's always fun to be had to play a crazy character. My experience of playing crazy characters is like you get more freedom to do weird stuff that you may be inspired to do in the moment.
True.
So, for an actor's point, maybe he just was like, cool, I don't have to have a ton of heavy lifting. I can just goof around and dance and jibber jab.
And say I'm
Why
in an
not?
Indiana Jones movie. Yeah.
And look crazed anytime anyone takes the skull.
Yeah. I did jot down one thing that I did chuckle at. This was my one laugh of the movie, actually. And not because of simply it being part of this movie, but because it made me... Okay, so this is the sad part. It reminded me of another movie, and that's why I laughed. So... the sand pit scene you guys were talking about, after they get back out of the dry sand, and he comes back, Oxley that is, leading the Soviets and Mac back over, and then he's just like, oh, yes, thanks. This is what I meant by bring help. That immediately made me think of The Fifth Element, when Bruce Willis's character is stuck in the bar being shot at, and he's trying to shout at that performer, and the performer looks over at him, and he's like asking him for the gun, and he rolls him over those little balls, whatever the hell those are, and just gives him like an okie doke sign. Bruce Willis just says thanks, all defeated. That made me laugh because it reminded me of that scene. But not because of the actual scene itself in the movie, just because it reminded me of something else.
No, I was just sitting there being like, who did Indiana Jones actually send him to get? Because the only thing around is Russians.
Yeah. What help?
And why are the Russians clear-cutting this forest when there's clearly
The
a
machine
road?
that would not be able to clear
They
cut
made the
clear cut
road.
a forest.
Oh, you mean that wacky CGI monstrosity?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That looked like it was
That's
straight
how
out of
I
a
know they're
cartoon?
bad. They cut down the-
I remember that being a giant roller, not an elongated truck with saw blades on the front. I also remember there
Dan,
being a
if-
scene where that saw blade comes back. I remember that because I got really angry about it.
Well, I mean, it's already
Physics.
enough anger slicing through all the vehicles, narrowly avoiding killing every human in sight. I mean...
And then it dances off into the
Yep.
Amazon, and an hour and a half later comes back
it's
and kills one more
It does. It did. I
before it
remember
comes to
that.
arrest.
When I went and saw the
No, it
movie,
comes back at the end of the movie when they're trying to escape the obelisk after the things come across. So it's all of the exploded blades. They all come and close off the entrance that they just left.
I would prefer it if the blade came bouncing out of the jungle, hit the UFO, and caused it to crash at the very end. Just as it's taking off. That would have made me
That would have been
happy.
great.
So,
That would have been so good.
So yeah, we're already to this part. There was one thing I put down as an angry gripe, just because I put it down as how the hell would he know? When they're being attacked by those, I guess you can call them protectors or guardians at the gravesite when they first get there initially. The first time the guy whips out a blowgun, Mutt screams, "Those darts are poisoned!"
Mutt doesn't.
How the hell would
that
he
wasn't
know?
Mutt. That was Indy
Right.
that says that.
Was it Indy?
Indy.
Who says that?
Yeah,
it was
Indy.
I
Indy.
thought it was Mutt.
Nope.
Oh god,
It was
No.
how Indy. I mean, you could
it's just like a guess.
Peruvian blow darts are always poisonous? Question mark.
I mean, sure, he had to deal with them in Raiders in the beginning, but I mean, to base every dart he sees there on forward as it's poisonous. I guess.
So,
I don't
And
know.
it's
also,
always just good to
a
assume.
dart will
That's true, yeah.
will do a whole 180 when you blow from the opposite end of a blow dart.
Except for Dent, the arrow was still pointing outwards, which means that the guy probably didn't get poisoned. He
Stabbed?
just
Pope.
got stabbed in the back of the throat, which would be really uncomfortable, and he wouldn't probably die from it.
But because
Not right away,
because it's Indy, he's got some crazy ass lungs, and
That was a really bold move of
it
him.
was.
Pop up and blowing it, because if I had a blow dart, blowgun up to my mouth and somebody jumped in front of me, I'd just blow real quick.
Same here.
Like, oh, now you got a dart in your mouth.
So that part was in Peru, correct?
Yes?
So I wrote it down as, I'm like, oh, hey, Peru has employed Cirque du Soleil, who also know how to do capoeira.
Capoeira, yes.
Like, this is very interesting.
Is pretty popular in Brazil, I know, but that's because they brought it over from Africa. I don't know if those folks would know capoeira.
Well, come on. It's South America. Close enough. That's what producers
It's
for
right
movies
next
say.
door.
That's probably what George Lucas said.
It's all
Wah!
the same, Amazon.
Dance fighting's pretty cool with the kids these days. Let's put this in the new
Yeah.
Indiana Jones movie.
That dance fighting is really cool.
It was really cool. And I also like the coolness of whatever crazy regional time zone they're in, where they crawl down into a crypt and it's pitch black at night, and all of a sudden there's daylight the second they get down in there.
It's the same way when they show up to the military base at the front end of the movie. It's bright day, and then they get to the hangar, and it's twilight.
Yeah.
It's like, what happened?
It was jarring.
Movies-
I was angry
Movies
because
love playing fast and loose with the time.
I was just,
Maybe it just took him that long to wake up from being
in the
eviscerated by riding a missile down a track.
Yeah, I mean that's a possibility.
Right in front of the
I think
intake,
this one was more so.
their
Sorry, go
eardrums
ahead.
would have been bloody pulp
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
for an
yeah.
engine like that.
I think this one's more jarring simply because they go down the ladder and it's pitch freaking black outside with no sign of it being a sunrise or sunset. And the second that they're down there looking at the old entombed corpses, there's daylight coming through the roof. And I was immediately like, what the hell? This is clearly just a set. They didn't think about this. And then when they crawled back out of the tomb, it was daylight, broad daylight. And it's like, what the hell just happened?
That was actually a lot more jarring to me than the warehouse, because I noticed it. And usually I don't notice stuff like that. I was like, that's such a weird cut. I don't know why they decided to make it like nighttime and then daytime, apart from the fact that like you dance fighting and people jumping around and out of things is a little bit more creepy at night.
Yeah, yeah. And then you got to be able to see
And then
those
you need
Russians in the
daylight
morning.
in order to be able to see. Yeah, I don't know. Seemed a bit silly, unnecessary.
There's a
But
lot of that
also-
in this movie.
Movie got a movie.
Silly and unnecessary. Still better than I remember it being.
And that was part 1 of the Indiana Jones series reboot. Rewound and rebooted. If you would like, comment, and subscribe, that helps all our algorithms. If you could share this episode or others with your friends, your enemies, your archaeologists, who also love movies from the 80s and 90s, it would help us greatly share our work. Come back next week while we do our second half of commentary on the reboot of the Indiana Jones series. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull!
Guys, I think this is the longest episode that we've had.
At around an hour and a half, I started thinking, I was like, we might need to split this one up. Hi, this is Joe from the Rewinders. I'm not going to waste your time. This is part 2 of the reboot of the Indiana Jones series with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I had one character that throughout the movie, I just kept feeling, I'm like, if this was a different actor, I'd be so much happier. And it was the big Russian guy that was all throughout the movie. And
You wanted him to be Daniel Craig.
no, I wanted him to be Vinnie Jones.
God damn it! Now I have to Google someone.
He would have been a lot of fun. There's no way. I don't think he would have been able to pull off a Russian accent, but whatever. It's Vinnie Jones. He would have been awesome.
Let's just talk about getting Peter Stormare in there right away.
Peter Stormare?
Stormare.
Oh, that guy.
I don't Google. Who is this guy?
I don't know who this guy is either. I
This
do know.
guy.
Oh, I see. George Carlin.
No, not George Carlin.
Well, I know who Vinnie Jones is now, at least.
He's a funny
He's in
guy.
a lot of things.
Yes.
Oh, I just realized we totally skipped over my first complaint.
I knew who Vinnie Jones was the second you said his name without even Googling, but I just Googled to make sure, and I'm glad I knew who he was. At least I can remember faces to celebrity names.
Dan, we still have time for your next complaint.
Yes, Dan.
Kate Blanchett's terrible
Wonderful accent?
Russian accent, and the fact that her normal speech pattern slips out a lot.
So often. I actually made notes about that.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure I was going to say anything about it, but good lord.
Yeah.
Accents are hard. I know.
It's-
I try to do it in D&D every now and again.
It's just so sad because the whole time I'm just wishing it was Nazis again. And I know it can't be Nazis, but damn, I miss the Nazis.
It totally could have been Nazis.
No, it couldn't have. Steven's got a clause now. Because ever since he did... he legitimately had said this. Ever since he did Schindler's List, he can't do another movie with Nazis. Because it would undermine the terror that the Nazis represented in Schindler's List.
Oof.
So he refuses to do Nazis as an enemy in another Indiana Jones movie because, yeah, really
Fair
sucks.
point.
Okay.
But I get his
see
point.
the
So
moral, I see the
we
moral
need to
there.
fire him from the movie then.
Yeah, just have George Lucas direct the whole next one and see how that goes.
No, can we? No.
I'll tell you exactly what will happen then. Indiana Jones will walk somewhere, he will stop. And when he stops, he will talk. And if he doesn't talk, he will sit. And if he doesn't sit, he will talk. Or he'll sit and talk. But then he'll get up and walk and then stop.
I like where
To
this
talk.
is going. I think we also need to have him have a conversation about how he just hates sand.
We are
Be
talking
out in the
about
desert and start complaining
the
about it.
most drawn out, the most terrible chase scene.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So dry.
So we're in the meat and potatoes of the film now. I mean,
I think we've come and gone from the meat and potatoes.
oh no, we are still in the meat and potatoes because so much shit happens in this portion of the film.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about monkeys swinging on vines,
Eh.
the shitty sword fighting. We're talking about the saw blades bouncing around. How about those ants, huh?
It took so long. It took me out of the movie. I lost care about the whole thing so quickly. And that's the beauty of the early Indiana Jones movies, is they knew when to cut it off.
It really was.
They knew when to cut the chase scenes off and just call it done.
Yes, it was brief. It had a payoff. Well, the chase scenes had a goal too, and that's the problem. You look at Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Indy's trying to get the Ark back, but he's also trying to stop the Nazis. That's the point of that chase. He goes from thing to thing to thing, gets to the vehicle that has the Ark, and then he uses that vehicle once he's actually done fighting everybody trying to steal it from him to disable the Nazis' head vehicle and basically stop the pursuit while getting away. It had an end goal in sight. This did not. It's just a bunch of random vehicles driving through the jungle trying to look cool, And then all of a sudden, just gunshots and shit start going off and crazy, crazy action. Got to keep ramping it up. Then you have a sword fight between the two. Oh man, that's awesome. Oh, then there's going to be a rocket launcher and there's going to be blades spinning around. Oh, what if one of the characters falls off and then has to start swinging on vines because they see monkeys doing it?
How about we just nuke the fridge?
Yeah.
Hey, we forgot to have the extreme gross out moment. We need to throw that in here too.
Yeah, so that's the end that it races to that was never in sight. Just all of a sudden, boom, boom, car, anthill.
That's not entirely the end, though.
It's not entirely the end.
Still have to jump off 3 waterfalls.
Yes, and we're getting
just to punctuate
we're getting to that.
how much extra bullshit there
Exactly.
is. They can't just fall off one waterfall and call it good. They have to fall off every waterfall on the goddamn
Exactly,
earth.
and that's like the cherry on the shit sundae. We're getting to that. But before we get there, there's a detour at fire ants.
That's the body gore I was talking about.
It's the body gore, and they make it a point to make it so gross that they have to make it squirt into the camera 3 times. There's 3 instances where they do that camera shot where it's like, they crushed it and the bug juice is on the lens. Isn't that icky?
Giant grape-sized ant.
Between your thighs.
And I don't know if you guys felt the same way about this.
World War Z ants.
I don't know if you guys felt the same way about this, but I was so angry and excited at the same point writing this down because talking about rehashing indie, this ant scene is also this movie's goddamn propeller scene.
Yep.
You get that skull, you get 2 guys duking it out with ants all around them. Who's gonna fall into the propeller?
But there wasn't an actual propeller.
It was ants.
No,
the
it was
ants were the propeller.
They still got themselves destroyed.
It was still 2 guys on the brink of falling into something that's obviously going to kill them, having a fisticuffs. But instead of falling into a propeller, it's falling into ants and being carried away.
And then, to put the cream on the cake, the hat gets carried away by the ants, but they're like, oh, nope, never mind, we're done with this hat. We'll just leave this here. And that hat means so much to Indiana Jones that he takes the skull away from Oxley, the skull that's protecting them, and walks over to grab his hat, leaving Oxley potentially to be eaten by ants.
He deserved it.
No, you're supposed to just believe that one big Russian's enough to feed the colony.
I mean, it was a big Russian.
It was. Joe, how did you feel going into the scene? Because we had all seen it before, but just...
Oh, well, you guys
know.
had mentioned ants
know.
before on our last recording, so I was like, oh, this is the ant thing. I was confused by the gopher mound at the beginning of the movie, because I was like, oh, is it the ants already? But then I was like, oh yeah, digital gophers, forgot about those. And when this came up, I was already... I hate this. I was so just drawn out and losing track of things because we just had, 20 minutes of a car chase and knife fight and punching and then knife fight turning into kung fu and then swinging on vines. It's just, you are, like,
That's right.
We need a change.
Kate Blanchett karate chopped Mutt
So much.
for a little bit.
Yeah. Forgot all about all
Open
that.
hand, edge of the hand, karate chop to the neck, several times.
And the ants actually formed a ladder, and she had to squish it with her thighs.
Knee.
Yes, the World War Z of ants.
Yes, that's what you meant. I caught that now.
Anyways, Joe, sorry to cut you off. This scene is so aggravating. This scene is the reason why I can't get into the movie.
Still there, Joe? Oh no. The ants carried Joe away.
I think we lost you again, Joe. Joe.
Oh, I saw he just muted himself for a second.
No, I'm here.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
We couldn't hear anything that you were saying.
I wasn't saying anything because I got cut off.
Ooh.
I'm sorry, Joe.
No, literally, I was shutting down my browser and turning it back up again. My connection's bad today.
Oh, so you got
Yes.
cut off by the internet. Okay.
Gotcha.
Oh, I jumped in at a good time then.
Yeah, so that scene, Joe, huh? Pretty good, huh? Pretty impressive.
I was starting to miss things at that point because my attention was hard to keep.
It's like the second the jungle chase starts off, it's just you get to the point where it's Indy with the rocket launcher, and then the team splits up into multiple vehicles, and it just starts dragging to the point where you can't even focus on what's happened. I forgot that she even did the karate shit and everything until Ken just said it.
Yeah.
I forgot about it until I saw it this morning. I was like, what the? God damn it.
I watched it last night and I already forgot. That scene is just so overdrawn.
Basically, as soon as they are past the downtime in the Amazon and they jump in their vehicles, everything it's too much, too fast. I don't care about anything because of the huge, elaborate historical temples that are giant machines because aliens helped build them. Blah, 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 blah.
Yup. I mean, when you think back to things like, let's say, Last Crusade, it was just a small place that was more of an optical illusion. The only real threat was obviously choosing the wrong goblet and being too cocky, and then having just a couple of blades protect the place. And there was some mysticism involved, sure. And then you look back at Raiders of the Lost Ark. It was just a place that was lost in time, buried in the sand, covered in snakes. And yeah, there's some mysticism involved with opening it and not opening it as well.
And a couple of puzzles you had to figure out,
Yeah.
which draws out the movie in an interesting way.
Exactly. And Temple of Doom, no real explanation outside magic rocks, but, still fun. This
That's
is
fine.
just, it's giant ass sets. I mean, those cogs you keep referring to, Ken, those things were, what would the diameter of those things even be? Where did they come from? Who made cogs that large?
Aliens.
I guess aliens decided to industrial revolutionize it up and make some giant ass cogs as part of their wacky.
But also, mostly, what's the point of those? To seal up the exits when people are almost certainly going to be dead? Why did you need
My thought
8
process,
of them?
it was some kind of lifting mechanism to bring the ship up from its landing space.
And that makes sense, but I
Interesting.
highly doubt aliens would have made any of this, and the natives definitely wouldn't have made anything along those lines because they haven't progressed to the point of having that technology.
But the aliens gave them the ability to make that technology.
And why did anyone
Because if
die?
If the aliens are flying around in a freaking saucer through dimensions and shit, why the hell would they settle on cogs?
Because it was the stuff that they had to work with, maybe? I don't know.
I'm way overthinking this, but it just feels like they just basically chose a random time frame in human history and said, here's a thing.
Yes.
George Lucas is like, hey, you know what I like? I like Fallout. Let's make this into a vault.
I also see it as, they open up that temple and there's that big hole and, we have to run down because the stairs will pull away and we'll never be able to get down otherwise because we don't have ropes, we don't have ladders, we don't have pulleys, we don't have baskets. There's no way to get to a bottom of a pit. Ugh. And then...
Yup.
Yeah, and it seems really rash to rush to the bottom of a pit when you don't have a way out.
Yeah, and on top of it, people had been in there before and they left stuff. Well, how did they get out?
They left stuff. Oh, they died.
Well, there was no, you're talking about the people that fell to
They
their
died.
death. There had to be more people who, okay, now we need to bring in all these Sphinx type things. We need to bring in these Babylonian
sure.
things
Yeah.
and leave them here outside of the spacecraft to honor the aliens, our gods.
I mean, that was interesting because the poem they had to, or the literature, I guess they followed the Oxley quotes. They had said was from Milton, I believe. And when you're there watching the movie, you're like, why the hell is Milton making a map for finding some Mayan treasure.
That could be because that's the only way that Oxley can, like, handle communication because his brain's all screwed up.
Yeah, his brain's addled. I guess that would kind of make sense. He's doing the old Bumblebee, especially since Shy's in this movie. Oxley is Shy is Bumblebee.
Oh, that's adorable.
This movie, guys.
I don't know. I mean,
Ken, why don't you get to your favorite part here with the 3 drops?
The 3 drops. Oh, the waterfall? I already got angry about that.
Yeah, but we took a detour to the ants, and now it's the waterfall drops.
That's coming.
Don't want to miss that.
Gone.
Oh no, I didn't want to miss it. That's so well done. It's so well done.
I'm in my exhaustion phase after raging.
When we first talked about doing this movie,
oh god,
when we first talked about this movie and the fact that we'd be watching it again, one scene above all else still stuck out as a sore thumb, even though I'd only seen it twice since watching it again last night. One scene stuck out like a sore thumb that's always ingrained in my memory, and that's the first image that pops in my head when I think of this movie, is Miriam sitting on the beach, clutching the steering wheel like a cartoon, in a daze because they had just gone over 3 waterfalls.
Oh yeah.
And that scene still just pisses me off so much. Out of everything in this movie that doesn't work, I don't know why, but that is like the poster that pops in my head for this film. Her just sitting there with a grin on her face, in a daze, holding a steering wheel broken.
Well, what's more amazing to me is they all 4 jump out of the car on their way down from that last waterfall.
Mm-hmm.
You can see them. They're jumping from the car. They're not being thrown.
Yep.
They are forcing themselves out of the car. So her being at the bottom of the waterfall, sitting there with a steering wheel in her hand,
doesn't make any sense.
On dry ground.
Considering the duck boat also landed upside down.
How did she get there? How did she get the steering wheel? I mean, I get it. It's kind of fun. It's kind of like, oh, hey, look, she's got PTSD. Ha ha ha. But in order to get from literally jumping out of the car, apparently with a steering wheel in her hand, swimming to the shore so she doesn't drown, propping her up into onto a rock, and then bringing the steering wheel in front of her so she can do this somatic what do you call it? Whatever event. Yeah, it's a weird thing to get to.
It is, and I'm just trying to find a comparison with the original trilogy that feels the same in terms of tone. And
there isn't.
I think the goofiest thing I can think of from the original trilogy is obviously the raft scene flying out of the airplane, out of Temple of Doom. But even that,
I don't think anyone
that doesn't even
went canatotic out of that.
And no, not just the level of ludicrousy of the survival odds. I mean, that's the one that a lot of people always go back to, and it's like, oh, the physics don't work and they die. I get it. Yeah, it's true.
They did it on Mythbusters. It's fine.
Yeah, and it's more believable than this was, clearly, for a laundry list of reasons.
And they definitely prepped you with early warning, giving her psychic powers to blow up a transformer. Just be like, bracing, guys. We're going to take this a little bit different than you're used to.
Yeah.
It's at that point I knew I should have turned off the movie, but I was in a theater and I couldn't. And actually, when I first watched this movie, I did not. I walked out of the theater being fine with the movie.
So
there were
angry.
some things, like that chase scene, even after watching that movie that first time, that chase scene was still the, God damn it, just do something with this movie already.
Yep. Yeah, like I said, it was just silence when I walked out. But yeah, I mean, So we're getting to the end here, Joe. Obviously, you know how it ends.
Yeah.
You saw what happens.
So,
How do you feel about chocolate in your peanut butter? How do you feel about a UFO and a grumpy alien forcing a girl into a dimension and shit? I don't even know.
So, weirdly enough, we already made a Call of Duty reference earlier. This is kind of like the Black Ops and the Modern Warfare games. You have the desert movies and the jungle movies.
Yeah.
The desert movies being the good, believable, oh, hey, look, there's this weird thing going on. And the jungle movies being like, what the fuck just happened?
I had a note. I had a note from last night when I watched this. I was going to apologize to all of you and say I take back my comments about wanting more jungle movies.
I didn't say anything because I'm just like, does he not remember the jungle scene from Kingdom of the Crystal Skull?
Yep, I
He
completely
wants-
forgot.
he wants
I
more
forgot
of
that.
I don't.
I erased that 20 minutes from my head.
so at the end of the first Indiana Jones film, Indiana Jones grows. He learns that there's something to the mysticism of religion. At the end of the second movie, which actually happened apparently before the first movie, Indiana Jones learns that not everything belongs in a museum. At the end of the third movie, he learns to live with his father again, to mend that bridge, to know what it is to be more than just an adventurer. It's also to be a son, and and to be with his family, and to be something else as well. At the end of this movie, there's an alien spaceship, and everyone just shrugs and goes, "Yup, there it goes. Bye."
The most you can say is he learns that he can feel guilty for running off on Mutt.
And Miriam.
But
I
he
guess.
makes it
And
good
Miriam.
because he marries her now to make up for it. Blah, blah, blah. There's no growth. I'm just getting at that. He does not have personal growth at the end of this movie.
That's what I was saying earlier about how nothing that they use as an excuse to dust this film off to have Indy ride off into one more adventure after tying it up does anything to push his character forward or push the franchise forward in any notable way. Other than money, like you said.
And it's not even a reboot of the series in terms of what Star Wars did. Star Wars just said, we're doing exactly the same thing, but with different people and slightly different Empire, slightly different rebels. But we're going to do the exact same thing. And that was fine. But they were very forward about it, wiping that slate clean and doing the exact same stuff. This is not even, showing any sort of, look, we're going to do the same thing we've always done kind of mentality. We're getting into sci-fi now. Wah, wah, wah. I don't know. It doesn't really, it references the prior stuff a little bit, but it doesn't hold any of it with any meaning of how to go forward.
They start off making a lot of good references to other things that happened in the movies prior, and then it gets unhinged.
Yeah. Someone comes into his classroom, like everyone does, to start, hey, this is the new thing we're going to have you chase kind of moment.
Yeah, and the new thing he does is actually end class early without a bell. It doesn't happen to be the end of the class. He's just like, fuck you guys. You guys can learn your own stuff. I'm going to go talk to this guy. He seems to be, he seems to need to talk to me
he
quick.
is
Yeah,
the
which-
dean. Or was
which,
the dean.
He's the dean at the end of the movie.
Which now seems like an appropriate time to talk about this. So we're at the end of the film. What in the actual hell happened to the FBI subplot?
Nothing.
Nothing.
It started and then it was gone.
And now now Henry Jones Jr. is the associate dean, so he's not going to be
Yes.
teaching classes anymore. and somehow being the
Yes.
associate dean will give him the flexibility to go on adventures again? Or are we saying he's done? Because we don't know.
His next adventure is
Oh,
child rearing. Wait a
No,
minute.
no. It very clearly says that he's going to have a next
Oh, yeah, he
adventure
grabs his
when
hat.
He deprives Mutt from taking that
Yeah.
hat.
But I mean,
That scene made me
Which,
feel
when
so
I left the
good.
theater, that actually made me really
As I had said
happy.
before,
Yeah, me
I
too.
was so upset that they were going to make Shia LaBeouf the new Indiana, and I'm like, absolutely not. And then the wind started blowing, and the hat blew off the coat rack. Why the fuck?
Oh, the wind didn't just start blowing, Dan. The wind conveniently blew open double doors on a church, blew a hat off as they apparently were finishing up the wedding, just in time for them to walk out those double doors. Like a nice little nod to Indy saying, somebody who's watching for you, guy, here you go, open the doors for you, here's your hat.
Here's some more luck for you.
That scene encapsulates that character's luck, damn it. Like, that is, out of 4 movies, I think that's the most inexplicable bout of luck that he has ever had in the entire franchise, summed up beautifully in just that stupid exchange.
And then Mutt almost puts the hat on, and then India grabs the hat. I'm like, yay! It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, we everybody was leaving the theater feeling pretty bad after everything that they had witnessed, but the one thing that was consensual between everybody was that they were happy Mutt didn't take the reins.
it'll be fine if he would.
It would be fine, yeah. I just think
I
none of us
don't know
wanted to
if
see
there
Oh,
it.
are
yeah,
any
yeah.
other monkeys that out there with the same hairstyle that would be able to help him out again.
So after going over it like we have, is this a good reboot of the original series?
No, absolutely not.
No, not in any way. It didn't do anything to progress the series. Like I said, Raiders was great. Temple of Doom was a misstep. Last Crusade was freaking incredible because they took everything they'd learned and made a beautiful ending
So
to
the
the series.
even-numbered movies all
And
suck.
then they just dusted it off and brought this
So that
out.
means that the next movie
Yeah.
that they're going to make is going to be good.
No!
Good luck with that.
No! So that's going to be the confusing thing here, and this is where it's getting so muddy. Originally, when they talked about the next movie, they actually talked about doing a full-on reboot. There were rumors swirling around that Chris Pratt was going to be the next Indiana Jones. And then that got kind of shuffled under the
That
rug.
got shuffled because
Now-
of the motorcycle scene from his first Jurassic
Jurassic World.
Jurassic.
And they're just
Yeah.
like, that scene got leaked, and people are just like, are they making an Indiana Jones movie? Because it had a very Indiana Jones feel
Oh,
with the way that the scene had gotten leaked.
I guess, yeah,
Sure.
sure.
Indiana Jones and the Temple of the Dinosaurs. Sure.
We've already done
Why
Aliens.
not? We already had Aliens. It's the next way to go.
I mean, just think of it. The next one where they have the militarized dinosaurs in it.
Oh, God. Indy meets Turok. So Harrison Ford has obviously said, yes, we're doing another one. They've expressed interest. There was reports back in 2016 that the next indie film would be out in 2019. Obviously, that came and went, didn't happen. It's in development hell right now,
Yay.
but I don't know.
We don't need it.
We
Joe, do you feel
legitimately
like this
don't.
movie held up?
It holds up like any other mediocre movie does from the past 20 years. It doesn't do anything other than hold place in the theater for a money funnel. Yeah,
Money
from
funnel.
The money
our
funnel.
pockets to their pockets. I don't know. It's
Well,
It's a good way to distribute wealth.
here is the latest news, and I'm sure you guys are going to be so thrilled. First off, 2022 is the next expected release date in July of 2022.
Okay.
It's Indy 5. They don't really have a name on it yet.
Too fast, too
Too
indie.
fast. Steven Spielberg has stepped down from directing
Hooray!
we'll get Nazis
and
again.
is being replaced by
Well-
James Mangold.
Who?
Okay.
He did Ford versus Ferrari, which was a
Okay.
good movie.
Oh. I've heard things about that movie.
And he also did Logan. That's good.
Oh, so Indy dies.
That's
Yeah.
one way to start over.
Oh. Yeah.
He's going to get shot by Nazis,
Is
isn't
this going
he?
to make an R-rated indie movie and just take it to hell right and back forth? Just, no, I'm so excited.
I'm in.
And if it's
God
the
damn
same
it, I'm in.
vibe as Logan, I mean, Indy's going to be an alcoholic. Marion will have left him, and he's just going out into the woods to, like, kill one more Nazi before he's done. And then he's like,
God.
gets to strangle that last Nazi to death, and then sits there and he's like, at least I strangled one last Nazi. And then we get like his life again flashing through his eyes, and then time fast forwards because he's in the middle of nowhere and his body decays and rejoins the earth, and his hat stays there the whole time though. And then it comes to 2020 and people are flying the Nazi flag again, and a young man finds the hat and you hear the music. Doo, 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 doo.
No, it should fade. It
I-
should
I-
fade
I'll
into a
get-
warble, and then the hat just gets crushed and thrown into a pile.
Yeah.
I'm very much excited, looking forward to the low energy piano cover of the minor key cover of the Indiana Jones
Oh, God,
theme.
the stupid piano. Yeah. Yep. We'll get a trailer where it'll just be the piano, and it'll just be a hat on the ground covered in dust and a hand picking it up.
Bloody
And
hand.
then a date. Yep, a bloody hand, and then a whip sound, and then a date. That's all we'll get. So yeah, it's 2022. Not Spielberg, but he's staying on as producer. Obviously, Lucas is retired, so hopefully aliens will stay out of this one.
Or
The interesting thing is David Cope left. He was the original screenwriter.
Yep.
He's had a lot of things he's done, obviously. I guess they brought in Jonathan Kasdan, who is the son of the Raiders of the Lost Ark scribe.
all right.
So, interesting, I guess. We'll see how this goes.
We'll have to.
Yep. And Indy is obviously still
We're
going to be
still around
Harrison
in
Ford.
2 years.
Well, he's not gonna crash his plane into EAA this year, so
Nope. But parks are still not safe 100%.
Alright.
Didn't he crash? No, it was a golf course
Yeah,
he
he-
crashed into.
See, that was an emergency
Golf
landing.
course,
He didn't
yes.
crash.
right.
Well, when you botch a landing,
It's a
plane
fancy
didn't make
way
it.
to say he crashed.
yes.
Yes.
Well, this was
Yeah.
the
So, where,
on.
wait, well, one last question for you guys. Where is the lowest point of this movie? We got the refrigerator. We got the monkeys. We got the ants.
I'll tell you where.
It's hard for me. Oh, go ahead, Joe.
It's on the second waterfall where Indiana Jones and and everyone else in that automobile just look straight ahead like nothing's happening, and he goes, "There's one more. There's another one." And they just go over it like it's nothing
Yeah.
because they don't care anymore. And nothing matters. They're not going to die.
Yes. And nobody else in the car understands. Oh, there's 3 drops. You're like, yeah, okay, you got a waterfall. Oh, shit, he knows what he's talking about because he was here before. Maybe we should, like, no one in the car understands that except for Indy. Always
Mutt
gotta be
did
the smartest one of the
grasp
bunch.
that Ox was trying to tell them to get out of the river.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, okay. I wasn't even going to put that one on the low point.
I would
but that
say
was,
it's probably the low.
that was
that's
where
the
you
low
could
point of the
definitely
movie.
feel it. Yeah.
I agree.
That's definitely where you feel
It's
the
the
most
movie
despair.
telling you, whatever. There's another waterfall. Who cares? Let's
There's
just
al-
go.
there's
Let's
always
just
another
go over
waterfall.
it.
You guys convinced me because it's really hard not to say the fridge for me. Because just having that right in the beginning of the film really sets the stage for what to expect. I mean, it really tapers expectations and really expects you to just throw everything out the window and expect that you're watching a movie.
The movie started on so many tapered expectations. Like, even the motorcycle chase through the school was just
bad.
Dull.
Yeah.
They nuked the
It was
fridge.
dull to
It was
me.
very dull.
And it never really gets a chance. It never gives itself a chance to curtail your expectations into something
Yep.
positive.
And I agree with you guys. That changes my mind thinking about the waterfall scene, because this movie for me, it's always been about two things. It's always been about the fridge and the waterfall. Everything else is awful that I brought up, and it is obviously stuff that's in the foreground of why this movie doesn't work. But for those two scenes specifically, those are what comprise my memories of this film. And when it comes to the waterfall, you're right. That second waterfall, they're all just clambering back into the boat, lazily, tired. They just don't give a shit. There's another drop. It's almost like the movie's... It's like the movie in a way is warning us, like, don't get your hopes up for a good ending. Here come aliens. Here comes a UFO.
There'll be more stuff, but you're not going to give a shit.
Yeah. You know those guys? So they got the Mayans shoved in walls behind things. Like, how long were they in there? I have no idea, but they were behind some very intricate displays. And they don't make human noises. They make weird noises. So I find it so hard to believe that the aliens came here and taught them how to farm, but didn't give them language. Anyway, sorry, that was had to get that one out.
Well, they specifically said they
That's
only
all I got.
gave them farming, irrigation, and like one other thing, and none of them was any sort of speech therapy.
Well, they did make a reference to
Yeah.
the fact that the skulls granted humans psycho telepathy.
Supposedly.
So maybe the
I believe
aliens
that.
just use the humans as slaves and just as a hive mind forced hundreds of thousands of people to build the temple on top of their pyramid to keep it safe, or on top of their ship to keep it safe.
I mean, maybe they...
Well, that's an interesting take.
I mean, maybe they did actually make that reference to the Egyptian pyramids as well, so... Kind of adding to the mystery that aliens built the pyramids.
Well, also, I mean, they're saying that one antechamber with all the artifacts in it had artifacts from all across the world. Well, the people there would have never gotten there, so obviously the aliens couldn't convince the humans that they were gods at first. The people were like, nah, and they're like, fine. How about this? We'll go over to the other side of the planet and bring you something. Here, look, here's a mini sphinx. Are you impressed, people? And they're like, not yet. Here's some Babylonian garbage. Are you impressed now? Maybe a little more. Why don't we get a ride? And then it's like, if we let you inside, then you're going to get your feet on everything. We just had it reupholstered.
Cover everything in gaudy
It's
gold.
good. No, you stay out of the... Get out of the UFO! God damn it. But,
So,
yeah, I don't know.
I guess, would you guys agree or disagree that the Cross of Coronado would have greatly improved the film?
Nothing could improve this film. It's just as lost as Temple was.
Here's the thing. When at the end, all the water starts flooding back into the basin, and it kind of just gets kicked up and lands at their feet, and he goes, oh yeah, forgot about this. And then everyone would have been angry about that because they're like, oh, just checking a box to say, hey, remember this?
Oh, no. No.
Or that the Cross of Coronado was a hilt to a sword that was the only sword that could kill the alien that they had just released that was going to now terrorize all the Earth because it was so pissed at humans for stealing its skull for so long. Ah!
Oh,
No, I'm gonna send you guys.
Alien versus-
I'm gonna send you guys a little GIF because I can't believe none of you have mentioned this. Give me one sec
just
here
numb.
because
talking about this.
No,
I'm so
Forgive
dumb.
No.
me. I'm trying to crawl.
did you guys see this in the opening scene? Because I'm surprised none of you brought this up.
I didn't bring it up because it didn't matter.
Well, I'm bringing it up because you just said nods to the other
Yeah.
things.
Oh yeah,
Show
Yeah.
it to me.
it was inconsequential.
Because they just
Inconsequential.
had to.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
They legitimately had to.
Yep.
Well,
I
they
figured
did,
they would
did
since they
in
were
Last
there.
Crusade. There's a painting of it in the
Look at
temple
that.
under the
Yeah,
library.
there is. When she asks, "Are you sure?" and he's like, "Ah, pretty sure."
But honestly, like, this is when you start off the movie, you got some Russians looking for something. We see this warehouse we haven't seen since the end of the first movie. You're supposed to believe that you're here for.
I mean, they
the
lay it
Ark.
on pretty heavy that that's what they're going after, was the Ark. But then they
but
obviously
then
don't.
they
They nuke
do
they,
jump off.
They nuke the fridge.
Well, they do jump on like, oh, there's a crash. We're looking for a body. You know this. It's mummified. Blah blah blah. It's highly magnetic.
I would have been
and-
more impressed if they were.
Actually, I don't know if they got the
Yeah,
magnetic
I would have been
part.
more impressed if they were after like the spear that punctured Christ's side that has been used in other movies as.
Yes.
That would have made way more Indiana Jones sense. It would have
It would have.
It could have possibly been the item for the next two movies, so you have your second trilogy.
Yes.
But no.
That's what we were talking about, I think, in Temple of Doom, Joe, and maybe it was more so Crusade, but I know we talked about it at least twice now. Some of those side stories would have made so much better of a film than what we got. There was one where he was after the staff of Moses too. I mean, that would have been freaking incredible as well. There's so many better options, and I get it. I already complained about it being too Christianity relic heavy, but at the same point,
This is worse.
it's better. It's better than Aliens, I guess. I don't know.
It, like I said, this movie feels like fan fiction.
Yeah, fan fiction's a really good way of describing this. It's like, what if? And just some kid sitting down and
And not even good, sexy fan fiction either.
nope. So anyway,
Yeah. Well, that was the reboot of the Indiana Jones series. Its name was Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Rewound and rebooted. Yay!
We did
And
it.
unfortunately not eaten by the VCR.
God, when did the VCRs die? 2008 might have been. Yeah, or by ants, I suppose.
Yeah.
If you could like, comment, subscribe, all those things help the algorithms that put the podcast audio version up there or the YouTube videos up there. And you could share these episodes with your friends, your families, your Russian neighbors, and help us spread the word. So, we haven't discussed this yet. I should have remembered that we needed to decide this before recording, but we were so eager beavers. Come back in 2 weeks when we rewind and reboot. What?
Oh, are we deciding on the fly what movie we're going to do next?
I kind of
I
just
thought-
assumed we would do Alien because that was what we
Yeah, I
had been
thought we were
chit-chatting
doing.
about.
Was it
Alien,
Alien, or
yes.
were we
Yes,
gonna do
Alien.
Beastmaster?
Oh, no.
Alien.
Alien.
We haven't had a chance about the other one yet.
Okay.
Alien.
So come back in 2 weeks when we rewind and reboot Alien. Oh, God, that felt weird.
It's because you didn't
Come
start
back.
the episode, Joe.
In 2 weeks when we... Oh, my God, I need to rewrite this. Next time we will be covering the movie Alien. So come back in 2 weeks when we rewind and reboot again.
Holy shit. That just kept going on like this damn movie.
Well, it sounded like the scene at the end where the shit's spiraling around, the aliens forming together, and
That was very impressive,
I
I'm not gonna
heard
lie.
that Oxley had that tube that he was spinning, making that
Yeah, the
high pitched
tube.
humming.
Yeah.
I thought the disc was making the UFO was making that sound.
Huh.
No, it was
Maybe
the,
it
it was
was.
the it was a combination of me not hearing properly and the music playing in the background. I went back and watched it.
You wanted it to be too fancy.
Ah, fair. Okay.
I wanted
And you can
I wanted more. I wanted something of consequence.
Well, you didn't get
Nope.
that.
Still better than Temple.
It does appear you can stream Alien on Hulu, HBO Things, and Amazon Prime Video right now. Or pick it up at
I
your
got my
local library
Blu-ray.
to support your local
or
resources.
local Pennigans.
Aw.
If you can find one, I'm sure they have it.
So I might split this one up.
You see, this is truly the longest episode because the Highlander was long, but we had a lot of side tangents on that one.
This one was pretty tight.
We kept just hammering this movie.
Yeah, well.
We did a really good job of tying it back to why this movie sucks compared to the other movies.
Yes.
I kept that in the back of my head to be like, yes, the ants
Which
are
I thought
ridiculous.
we were trying to avoid.
Let's look at the other movies and see why those ants are ridiculous. One's terrible CGI. Two, what were the other movies that the other body horror extreme gross out moments? We had the eating weird shit in Temple of Doom. Raiders was the face melting, which was. Yeah, there was the guy getting scared. That one actually had its own individual ones, but I think it was the face melting that was. And also, they redid the face melting or extreme aging and
the guy getting skewered on one of the traps.
there's bugs. What was it, Andy? For snakes, bugs, rats. Rats was the other one. Like, this is the one that took that gross out to a whole new level. And they had to do it CGI style. Yeah, definitely. Especially since he was still alive, even though the bugs, like, went inside him. It was, See, now, Joe, had you done that in the episode, just that line that you said, I would have known exactly who you were talking about. Yes. Oh. Wait, what? Oh. Oh, that'd be good. Oh, man, that would be good. All right, I suppose I should stop recording.